of the Wrestling Wives. I'm Mara.
And I'm Yesenia.
And we have guests today, our first guest. So introduce yourselves.
My name is Nelson Baker. I am the husband of Mara.
And I'm Brian. I'm the husband of Yesenia.
We're still trying to figure this all out with, in the camera, so be patient with us, guys. This might be chaotic this evening.
We're husbands of the wrestling wives.
Yes, they are. Loud and proud, right?
Yes.
Kind of?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, proud, right?
Yeah. Really proud.
I think I've been recognized more as the husband of the wrestling wives than I have been as a wrestling coach lately, so
Look at us.
I know.
that's good.
That's exciting. Well, we had a few things we want to talk about today. The first is what's going on this weekend with wrestling.
Yeah, so, I can talk about it, and then you guys will
Yeah,
probably know
fill
more
in.
about it. But I do know that it was USA Senior Nationals. I don't know. What is that more about? Nelson, I know what's going on.
Yeah, so Senior Nationals is a big tournament. Essentially, it's what's called the U.S. Open. But anybody can sign up, and this is how you qualify for the Olympic trials. There's a couple different ways. It gets really complex. You could be like a returning world team member from the year before, or been an Olympic champ from a year previous, or placed top 5 in this tournament, or have won the Bill Farrell from a couple weeks ago. But essentially, it's a really good senior level freestyle tournament that's going on. Freestyle, Greco, and women's freestyle.
Greco?
And as I've been watching it over the last couple days, I am just continually reminded how much cooler freestyling Greco is than folk style.
Oh.
And I miss it,
So you were on our train a couple episodes ago when we were very passionate.
Absolutely. Freestyling Greco is way cooler. But I still love wrestling of all styles.
And you guys were at a tournament all day today? Both of you?
Brian, you talk about where we were at.
We were at Oak Forest, and it was basically four duels. We wrestled York. We wrestled Naperville Central. We wrestled Prospect. And we also wrestled
Oak Forest.
Oak Forest, yep. Kids did really good today. A lot of success on the mat. They showed a lot of grit, and they did a good job.
Awesome.
So it was a dual tournament then?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was called the Mega Duels. It wasn't really not really a tournament. We already knew who we were going to wrestle in what order, but it was just a whole bunch of matches all in a row.
Can you tell we haven't really seen them today?
Yeah.
This week was brutal.
God.
I think Friday was the first day that I saw Nelson all week, really.
Yeah, for real.
It's been, I'm sure you guys are the same. Brian goes to club and all the stuff, so.
Yeah.
You're even helping out with the high school, so.
We're rarely around these days. But
Yeah.
We're here still.
The most I saw you up until Friday was at our duel, at our away duel on Thursday. You came up and I was like, oh, there's my wife.
I ventured out of the house.
Hey, she's doing okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then this morning, the kids came into my room and were like, where's Poppy? That's what they call him. And I was like, he's gone. And I was like, he left at 5:30. They're like, 5:30? And then tomorrow we have a club tournament, so we'll be up again at 5 to go.
We're just kind of just living at these tournaments and at these events these days. So that's just how it is.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's something that I think is really cool, especially at the kids club level, because although at the time it feels busy and chaotic, when I look back at the memories that I have with, my mom and my dad and my brother, it's traveling to those tournaments and being at those tournaments and then going out to eat with, the other families that we're at after those tournaments. And, it seems chaotic, but in reality, everybody's together. So, the practice schedule and the high school schedule gets a little chaotic. The kids club stuff is where you really build a community and those bonds between families and within families as well.
It's part of our family at this point, man. I mean, we're just this is what we do on the weekends.
Yeah.
You know? And I know we talk a lot about wrestling season, and I feel like recently there has been no season.
No.
It's just continuous.
Wrestling is life.
It's just part of our life, all the time.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. Yeah.
Well, that's really encouraging to hear, Nelson, because I love going to tournaments and stuff, but Brian knows this. When he's coaching and there's no lull during the day, then I have all 4 kids and I'm trying to manage them, and someone needs to take a nap, and sometimes I'm I just sometimes would rather either come and leave or stay home or send one of the kids with my in-laws, but I know they have fun, but sometimes for me I'm I get home and I'm like, I have to sit in the car for like half an hour because everything is like in my mind still, and I have to like decompress. But like you said, they love it and they love hanging out with like all families and all that stuff. But sometimes for me, I'm like, oh, yeah. So
they'll remember it all.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, they will. And we wanted to touch on a couple things that we talked about last week.
Yes. So this is really cool. I was telling Brian about it this morning or earlier. I talked to my brother who's a high schooler. Oh, actually at Leiden, the Eagles. And he told me that next year for PE, he's taking an officiating. It's like an officiating PE class.
Oh,
so
cool.
I was like, "What?" And he's like, "It's new." And I was like, "I bet you it's because of the official shortage, like in all sports."
Mm-hmm.
So he said that you learn how to be a ref, an official for like all different kinds of sports. I don't know if wrestling's included. I'm assuming there is because there's a wrestling team in the high school. But I was like, "Ooh, I can talk about that. How like." That's a way that they're trying to get the young people like into it.
Did you just request what sport they teach you, or
no? I think they probably teach you a whole bunch, but I wonder if like you get certified. Like I don't know. I would have to ask him.
Could we see him on the mats?
I mean, I don't know if I want my brother. But I was like, oh, like they're doing something about it, right?
That's
like
cool.
something is being done.
Did you know about that?
I had no idea.
That's awesome.
I know we should get it.
Yeah, I don't know if wrestling's included in that.
I think it will
or
be.
not. But
Yeah, I think that's a great idea and a great way to start. I'm sure some of the things that they'll talk about are like how to manage interactions with coaches, because sports are such an emotional thing, whether it's wrestling or basketball or football or track. Like I have interactions with officials that I would never have in my real life with somebody at the supermarket or somebody at my job. Like I find myself like screaming and yelling and pointing at a guy that I know personally and that I even have a good relationship with about a call that he made. And it doesn't necessarily mean that I dislike him as a person or I dislike them. It's just like an intense thing. So, having officials and young adults like understanding how to realize that this doesn't necessarily like attack them personally. It's just part of the job, and, how to deal with angry parents that are saying, I don't know if I can swear on this, but this is BS, things like that. But I think just those are skills that help you in life. Just how to manage conflict.
And now correct me. You did officiate?
I did.
Yeah, in high school, right?
Yep.
We said that, but I was like, did he? I thought he did.
Yeah, my dad made me. But it was a good way to make money, and my dad, used it as an opportunity to kind of see the other perspective of it. So like kind of be easier on the officials, because when you get out there and you officiate, you're going to realize that it's a lot harder, when you're trying to see everything versus when you're a coach or you're an athlete and you're so biased and you're just looking at your wrestler and you want the calls to go, your way. As well as it made me read through the rule book and study the rule book and know the rules inside and out. And that made me a better wrestler. And still to this day, to start the season, I always say that I read the rule book through and through every year. I don't anymore because I know the rules pretty well, but I make sure that I go through the emphases, like whether there's a new rule or there's a new way that we're going to be interpreting this rule. Like I want to make sure that if I do take an official to the table, I don't want to just be operating off of emotion. And if I go up and I question that ref's judgment or the application of a rule, I better know what that rule is. And being an official really helped me through that. And I got to give a shout out. I have no idea. They're probably not going to listen to this, but one of the families that we oftentimes wrestle against, the Montezes at Geneseo, their dad is a coach at the high school, and there's a boy who wrestles at Coe College and was a state medalist, and there's one that currently wrestles who's a stud, Zach Montez. They are both reffing at kids club tournaments. They're reffing all over the place, and I can see the same thing. And I had a conversation with all of them as to why they were doing that, and the same things that my dad echoed in my brain as a kid is what he was saying for them. So I would like to get some of our kids reffing because I think it gives them a better perspective. But
dude, you were under the spotlight when you were reffing a match.
Absolutely.
You are like the center of attention, and basically everybody has their own opinion about a call, but yours is public. And everyone is looking at that and arguing with it or letting it fly. So
thank you, officials, once again.
We
always
absolutely.
Thank you, officials.
No matter how angry we may seem at sometimes, we appreciate
Thank
you.
Yeah. And then we also got a list of the high schools in Illinois.
Yeah, well, some of them. So after the last episode, I was really curious to see what high schools actually have like all girl teams. And I was kind of disappointed because I went on like the IHSA website and I went on a whole bunch of different things and I couldn't find like a list. Like these are the high schools. And but through digging through Instagram and then Illinois Mat Women and like different things, I found like a few of them. So I'm gonna just shout out the ones that I saw. So like Batavia has one, Homewood Flossmoor, Joliet Central, Glenbard North, El Paso, Schaumburg, Joliet, St. Viator, Lake Park, Lane Tech, and Caneland. And there's probably a lot more.
Yeah.
But I was like, I thought maybe like 2 or 3, but this is a long list. So I was like,
awesome.
I have to mention it because you guys might not be aware of that either. So.
Willow's
So are they
here,
having
everyone.
their own like dual competitions and all that too? You would know.
I mean, we personally don't have a girls wrestling team, but I don't think they're having dual competitions yet. Maybe they are, like, between schools. Like, maybe, Homewood Flossmoor contacts Glenbard North and is like, hey, we've got enough girls on each team to do duels. I think that's awesome if they're doing that. But I know that this year they are giving out team trophies at individual state. Okay. So at boys state, they have individual state, and then they have dual team state. So those two things are completely separate. Whereas girls has individual state, and they're giving out team trophies based on the results of that individual tournament. And I think that's a clear, pathway to a girls dual team state eventually, as girls wrestling grows in the state of Illinois.
Well, I found most of these schools because the Batavia Girls Wrestling Club has a good Instagram and they posted their schedule and they were dueling against other schools. And I'm like, they must be girls schools. And then I would find that, I would Google that school and then they had a girls wrestling coach. And so I think there are some duels going on, but I don't like you said, I don't know that it's all they're doing. So yeah, just wanted to touch on it.
Excuse me.
Good.
Like me cough.
Willow joined us, everyone. Sorry if you
Yeah,
hear her.
you
You
can
can only see her tail today, but she's here. Don't worry.
You might hear her breathing
Yeah.
too, but
Setting something in
She
this
wants to
area,
be part of
and
it.
was the
There's her
dog.
little head.
There we go.
So we thought it'd be kind of fun to ask you guys a couple questions.
Yeah.
To hear your perspective, because we've been talking the past 5 weeks.
I know a lot.
Oh my gosh,
I'm like, ugh.
about wrestling season and what we think of it, but we kind of touched on it last week about how Nelson made a comment last year that this is the best ever, like just running around mat to mat on a day, like, and we were like, oh yeah, that sounds so lovely. So we're just interested to see your perspective on some things about wrestling season. So if you guys had to describe wrestling season in 3 words, what would they be?
You should go first.
I just say overall, it's just fun. It's just fun to just be here and to be able to coach these kids and like work with them and just be involved in wrestling in any way, shape, or form. It's just complete and overall fun. It's like one of the joys of my life, just
I like it.
having this part of my life.
you did it in 1 word. That's impressive.
No, I have more.
Oh, all right.
no,
Oh, God,
no,
yeah.
no.
Fun. All right, fun's the first word.
Fun's the first word. I would say one of the words that comes to my mind is like just curiosity at the kids level. Like I'm getting a lot of like newer kids, newer wrestlers, and I'm just curious to see like how they will develop and what they'll turn into. Like are they gonna be committed to the sport and just follow through with it, or are they gonna kind of just phase out of it?
Yeah.
So curiosity is another one, and then I had a third one, but I'm gonna push it back to you.
Okay.
The first one that comes to my mind is demanding. I think it's demanding from a coach's perspective because it is, obviously demanding as far as your time is concerned. It is demanding as far as the mental energy, at least personally, that I put towards wrestling versus the other aspects of my life. That's one thing that I really need to work on. But ever since I've been a competitor and a coach and even a fan thinking about the Olympic trials and the world team trials and all these things, like I find myself all the time just thinking so much about wrestling. And it's demanding for, the families and the wives and all the people that are in close contact with those coaches and those wrestlers. Like it's demanding from the wives, it's demanding from the sibling, it's demanding from the parents, it's demanding from the classmates, girlfriends, all these different things. It's just demanding, it's something that I think just asks more of everyone than most other sports. You know, from a wrestler's perspective as well, I think from a lot of other sports, you know, you try hard, you think about it, you know, you work hard, and then you go home and you don't think about it. Whereas wrestling, especially if you're cutting weight, like it never leaves your mind. It affects you at all times, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, until maybe you hit that off season. And then maybe when you're not cutting weight, it's not as demanding, but it's still incredibly important. I think, you know, yeah, it's just not something you could turn off. You know, you go home hungry and you're thirsty, and, you know, it's something that's always there. I think another word that comes to mind is rewarding. Like I said, from a whole bunch of different perspectives, I think that it's really rewarding as a wrestler to see your hard work hopefully come to fruition. But even if it doesn't, that's not really what the important part is. It's hopefully going to be rewarding in your life, because you're going to teach yourself that you've done something hard and that you can overcome adversity. Like, no matter who you are, wrestling is going to be hard. You know, there is no one that just starts wrestling and dominates everyone for the rest of their lives. Like, it's going to be hard at some point, and showing yourself that you can do that is incredibly rewarding. I think it's also rewarding from a coach's perspective, seeing those same things that I just talk about play out in a student athlete's life. You know, like, not just like, yeah, I coached this kid to a state title and it's so great that he finally, you know, accomplished his goals, and that's very rewarding. But even at the kids club level, you know, I look at the pictures from the DeKalb Beginners Tournament and I see, you know, my boy Connor getting his hand raised with a big smile on his face. Like, that's rewarding. You know, for some kids, I don't know if they've ever felt that proud of themselves or that accomplished of themselves. It doesn't matter if the other person has never wrestled a match before either. You know, that's just something that's so cool. You know, it's an individualized sport, and I think that that's cool in that when you win, you can take credit for that win. You know, you don't have to be, I mean, we talk in wrestling about being humble, but you don't have to go thank 900 different people. You don't have to thank your quarterback and your offensive line and your defensive backs and all these things. Like, I was the only one out there, and I'm thanking me. You know, you certainly have coaches and practice partners that help you out, but also you take accountability for when you lose. You know, when you lose, you can't blame it on, oh, my quarterback fumbled, I'm a defensive back, it was not my fault. You know, it was you that went out there and got beat. You know, so it teaches you accountability. And I know I'm getting away from rewarding a little bit, but and then for all of the reasons why Brian said, like fun is just obvious. I mean, I have the most fun not only coaching with my friends and not only coaching athletes that I am extremely close with and I can see their path, you know, and the high fives and the hugs and the conversations and the relationships that you build, but even the kids I work with in the off season. You know, I work with kids from all around the state that I'm really not their coach. You know, there might be a kid that I work with the dual team, or a kid that I've run a couple practices with or done a couple individual workouts with, or just met at Fargo and they're like, hey, Coach Baker, will you sit in my corner? I don't know where my coach is. You know, and I get to build those relationships. And even though I don't really know that kid and I'm not really their coach and they may really not have learned anything from me, I can see them at some of these tournaments and give them a big high five and ask them how their season's going and ask them how their life is going. Man, that's fun, you know? And some of those kids you'll see go on to wrestle, you know, in college and do these great things. And other kids you might run into 35 years from now under completely irrelevant circumstances, and you have that connection. So it's fun.
Yeah.
There's something like unique about this sport that just, when you're out there on the mat, it just exposes you to the world, you know, like what type of person you are. And I think people going through that experience, like in front of their families, in front of their friends, in front of their coaches, like just kind of unites everyone together, you know? So my last word was family, you know?
I love that.
Family, like this is family to us, you know? Like we spend a lot of time together. I mean, you guys know, and there's just a connection in this sport like no other, you know, that I haven't seen anywhere else. So
yeah.
Well, those were good, you guys.
Those were really good.
I was gonna say stressful, a little bit draining, overwhelming, but
it is all those things
I would
too.
also say fun.
I know, it is fun.
I got out of the house finally on Thursday night, and I went to a duel, and it was really fun. Like, I don't know, it was good. It was like, okay, yeah, no, I like going to these.
Yeah,
it was really fun.
It's fun watching the wrestling.
Better to do with my wife too.
Yeah,
by my side.
Aww.
Yeah, for real.
Couldn't do it.
And our children.
And the children.
Can't go
and
anywhere
friends.
without the children.
It's so much better when you have like you said, that family aspect at a tournament or a duel. Like, I was sitting at the duel and Shiloh was kind of running around, so Yesenia went away, but I was perfectly fine because I had other people around me talking to me. You know what I mean? Like, it was like it didn't matter that we weren't sitting right next to each other.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine, you know?
Yeah.
There's other people that are around, and it, like, watching each kid, like, brings you all together, right?
Yeah.
Even in that one match. So, I don't know. It is awesome. But also stressful and overwhelming.
Yes.
So we understand and we hear you out there that are listening to these two and they're like, what the heck? You know, if you don't feel like that, that's okay.
You don't feel like that all the time either.
No.
But I think too, more people can take, I say that because it's my opinion, but it's going to sound egotistical. Like, you should think like us. I think more people should really view the sport.
Lean into it.
Lean into it, but not only just not worry about the wins and losses, but I mean, I care about the wins and losses. The wins are awesome and the losses suck, but understanding at the end of the day, those aren't the memories and those aren't the lessons that wrestling teaches you.
Yeah.
You know what? It's the relationships, it's the lessons that you learn, and it's the fun that you have, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I have great relationships and I've had a lot of fun with some really bad wrestlers, like, you know, and that's why I've enjoyed those more than some of the wins that good wrestlers have had that you know, aren't great people.
Yeah. So the last episode we also touched on, I asked Yesenia, how old can you be wrestling? You can't wear diapers, right? Nelson, when was your first match?
I think I wrestled. I think
What's the oldest you
Yeah,
can be?
so like they're the
Or the
youngest. Sorry,
youngest.
sorry, the youngest, and I was like, you just can't wear diapers, right? And then shortly after that, Nelson came home and he said,
I am very positive that if it wasn't me that was wrestling their first tournament with diapers underneath their singlets, it was my brother. And I don't know if that picture exists or if you guys are able to like edit the picture, but I know that my mom would have either the picture of me or my brother in a singlet with diapers. If that's possible, I'm sure it'll get like put up on the screen here, but
sorry, Nolan.
no,
You gotta ask Sherry. Sherry,
you
you
know,
gotta hook us up with that picture.
it's different for all people. You know, I think there's a lot of data to suggest that the best time to start for performance wise is later in life. Like, there's no advantage or, you know, reason why you need to start your kid wrestling at 3, but also it's like fun. And I think that so long as the focus isn't put on wrestling well or winning, like
Competition.
exactly, like a 3-year-old kid can't understand the value of winning and losing. They understand what's fun to do and not to do. And as a coach and a parent and you know, a person that's around a youth wrestler, like, if you are imposing goals and outcomes that the kids can't even understand, like, that's not only unhealthy for you but unhealthy for them. So as much as I really don't care how old, I mean, you could start when you're 3 years old, you could start when you're 12 years old, and I don't think at the end of the day it's really going to make a difference if that kid loves wrestling and continues to want to improve and make wrestling their thing. I think it's just fun for kids that want to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree for sure.
It's fun and it's a good life lesson just overall.
Yeah.
You just learn like how to be active. You learn how to move your body
Mhm.
different ways. Like, you learn just how to push through really tough situations, you know, and without the competition. You know? Like, you don't need competition for all that.
Well, one of the things that I really liked, so I think we mentioned that our 4-year-old son wrestled for his first time or whatever, and he went 0-3, so he won 0 matches, which was fine, but he was just so excited that he had a medal that wasn't, he always takes his brother's medals like off the hook, and they're always like, give me my medal, and like he had his own medal. He's like, this is mine, this is not my brother's, this is, like, I earned it, like, he earned it by going out there, not by winning, which is fine because he's 4. Like, he doesn't need to get a first place medal.
No.
Like, we don't need to be pushing that, like, the emphasis of that. But he like took ownership of the fact that he did it, and that's something that I'm proud of him for doing. So I was really excited about that.
Absolutely, and I play a lot of Xbox with my buddies from Wisconsin that were on my college wrestling team, and they're friends of his, and my brother, you know, who have all been wrestlers, and we were just talking about, as being wrestling coaches, how much respect we've gained even from our wrestlers who have never won a match, right? You're a junior or a senior in high school that just decides to try something new. Like, the respect that person is owed for deciding that they want to do this, deciding that they're going to continue to do this, to decide to go out one-on-one with someone who's probably been doing this for 5+ years, and even to go out in front of people in what, you know, we as wrestlers take for granted, but like a singlet, which is like a really uncomfortable thing to wear if you're not used to wearing, like the respect that you are owed as a person by just going out onto a wrestling mat, regardless of if you know what you're doing or not, is more respect than I give most people off the bat, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you've decided to do this. This is a tough thing. This is an uncomfortable thing. And you are a unique person and a more disciplined person for having made that decision in the first place.
Yeah.
We might need to cut this off if she keeps growling, because I might need to put the hurt on our dog. But
Give the business. She doesn't act like this with just us.
I know. Okay, so if you can wrestle in diapers, then Nelson, what was your earliest memory of wrestling?
I really don't know. I think I literally
Out of the womb.
I was born during the year that my dad's high school team that he coached won state in Byron. So literally from the day that I was born, I was touted around as like the mascot of a high school wrestling team.
So
but
cute.
the off the top of my head, the first thing that I can remember is I was supposed to go to an overnight tournament. It was the Muhammad Seymour tournament that I wrestled in and that the Rochelle Wrestling high school wrestling team wrestles in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an overnight tournament. So I was just old enough that my dad was willing to take me overnight. And I was supposed to get out of school early on Friday, and we were going to go on the bus, and I was going to stay overnight with the team. And I remember like vomiting at school, and I was sick, and my dad had to come get me and say, "Hey, buddy, you know, if you're sick, you're not going to come tonight." And I was just devastated.
Wait, how old then?
Maybe like kindergarten or
Okay.
but I'm sure I had wrestling memories before that. But off the top of my head, that's the first thing that comes to mind is how much I idolized those kids, you know, which is why it's so important that your high school kids interact with your kids club kids as well, because you know, regardless of how good of wrestlers the high school kids are, those little kids are going to idolize those people like superheroes. Yeah, you know. Sure.
Wait, so are you named after wrestling?
I am named after the half Nelson wrestling move, and I don't think my mom knew that when my dad was like, "Let's name him Nelson," and she was like, "Oh, I like that name," and then realized that was the name of a wrestling move. But
and fun fact for those listeners who don't know that, my maiden name is Nelson. So when I first met Nelson, clearly my last name was Nelson, and that was like a big thing.
Yeah, so it's Mara Nelson and then Nelson Baker.
And Nelson Baker, yeah. And my cousin's name is also Nelson. So his first Thanksgiving, there was 2 Nelsons at the Nelson Thanksgiving.
Oh my gosh,
so
Nelson.
It was a lot, but yeah.
I have never met another Nelson.
I have recently, like I was hearing
Oregon.
a kid from Oregon, his name was Nelson. I was like, oh. And then, he knew my cousin Nelson before he knew me because we all went to the same college. And so that is just always so weird to me.
The Nelson.
Yeah. So, but yeah.
So you grew up wrestling, and like I didn't, like my parents are from Romania, and like they came to this country and like didn't really speak a whole lot of English, like had to learn English here. And like we didn't even know there were sports. We didn't even know like you could, I would see kids at my school, like my elementary school, like wearing sports shirts and things like that. And I just like didn't know what it was, you know, like hockey teams and lacrosse teams and like different teams that they were on. And I didn't know what it was until I was like in like 7th grade. And then I think I got like a paper for like football, like a little like sheet that was like an advertisement for, you know, to join the football team. And that's like the first interaction I had with like just that you could play a sport on a team with other kids, you know? And so because of that, like my freshman year came along and I walked into the athletic director's office, and it was Randy Conrad, who was the athletic director at East Leiden High School for a long time.
You went to Barrington too, right? That's the same
I'm not
Randy.
sure if he went to Barrington.
Anyway,
I know
he's
he wrestled.
He's a wrestling guy.
Wrestled at Iowa State.
Yeah.
He might have. I thought he went to Conant.
Maybe. Anyway, regardless. Sorry.
Yeah.
Interrupt you.
Anyway, I walked into his office and I was like, "Yeah, I'm here to sign up for football." And he was like, "If you're gonna play football," he's like, "you should do wrestling." And he's a big wrestling guy. He's like, "You should do wrestling and you should do either track or gymnastics." And I was like, well, I'm Romanian, and I know a lot of Romanians do gymnastics. So I was like, I'll do gymnastics, and yeah, I'll do wrestling too.
Okay.
And that was like my first introduction to wrestling. And yeah, I just fell in love with the sport. Having a guy like Randy Conrad there, I was, coached by Jason Potter, who's also at St. Charles East now. His, Byron Bennion, Ernest Bennion, NCAA champ at University of Illinois, and Mike Fumagalli. Like this group of guys, Jason Cartwright as well. Like this group of guys, like they were just like us. Like they were just lunatics about this sport and just loved this sport, and they really brainwashed us into like believing we were the best, even though like there was a guy like me on the team that really didn't know a whole lot about wrestling prior to that point. They just kind of showed us what the sport was, and also opened the door for someone like me to fall in love with it as well. So that was my first introduction to wrestling.
And then, so that was freshman year. And then senior year, what sports did you do?
Senior year, I only wrestled. I played football my freshman year. I did gymnastics my freshman year and wrestling. And then I think by my sophomore year, I only did football and wrestling. And then after my sophomore year, it was only wrestling. I was like just committed to wrestling.
Yeah, that's funny.
And then again, like I didn't know a lot about the sport. There's also freestyle and Greco going on and stuff like that. And just not having a huge background in the sport, and also like not really asking the right questions. At the end of our season, like everybody just dispersed. Coaches go home to their families and whatnot.
Mhm.
And for me, it was kind of like I didn't know there was like a whole freestyle and Greco aspect to the sport as well. So I found myself lifting a lot after the season, and also doing like MMA, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to ask the next question, Mara?
Sure. What is the best wrestling memory with your spouse? With the wives? If you have to think about it, that's okay.
I feel like
Yeah.
I feel like we could answer this question too.
Yeah.
Okay. So that'd be
Okay.
I've got a funny one. But,
Oh my god, I'm scared. Okay. Do you want to go first?
No, that's okay.
Oh, you might have to go first because I'm thinking.
Okay. Let me think. Let me think now. Okay. Go. You're the only one that has one.
No, I was just thinking about that time that you wanted me to show you some wrestling moves.
So my kids, the other day, even yesterday at practice, my kids told another person, my mom has wrestling shoes, but she never puts them on.
She put them on one time.
No, they were your shoes.
Uh,
So I think it was last year. I can elaborate on this story. So we have a mat in our basement. Well, now we have multiple mats in our basement, but we had at this point only one. And then like the kids were down there messing around, and I was like, I actually have no idea like what, like even like the pressure that like someone puts out there, and like my kids are doing it, so I'm like pretty involved parents. I'm like, so I asked them to show me. Was it just a take like
just like a double leg or something
or whatever?
simple. Yeah.
And so like I wore his shoes because like I didn't have any, and then he taught me how to do it.
Just
It's okay.
It's okay. You can keep that out. I'll do it again.
And so he taught me how to do a double leg, and then I bought shoes because I was like, well, I don't want to have to like keep wearing his shoes, and then still have the tag on them. Like I've not done it again, but I do like once. So like the Rochelle Wrestling Club has move of the week every week, and then I do it on my kids, like badly, right? Like I did it the other day in our living room, but yeah. So thanks.
Put her on
I
blast.
also appreciate that you're just trying to like learn these things.
It's
You know,
hard.
they're
Yeah.
happening.
He was like, oh, we're doing a bar, so I was like, whatever. And then he's like, switch your hips, and I was like, how? Like I couldn't figure out how to move my body, like in the position that I was in, to switch to my other hip, and I was like, that's hard. Like you have to like know what's going on. Like I don't know. So
Connect
I
the
appreciated the work that the wrestlers do. So.
The first time I saw freshman wrestling, and I was like, oh, I could kind of understand what that is, right? Because I was on the freshman team my freshman year, and then I got moved up to varsity like my sophomore year, up to my senior year. But like I saw my freshman year like freshman wrestling, and I was like, okay, they're just pushing, pulling, you know, taking a shot, whatever. But when I would watch the varsity, it just looked like a tangled like knot of humans like just rolling around, and I did not understand what was happening, like my initial experience with that. But now I understand. I see. I'm like, okay. What about you guys?
I think my favorite wrestling memory was probably 2 years ago when you guys started the Forge Club, because I got to see, like, I mean, you're very animated all the time, but like another level of animation and like happiness, like of him as a coach. Like, he's so you're so passionate about like Greco and like freestyle, and like that was my favorite. I loved seeing him so happy, like we talked about. It's just like relaxing kind of like during that season, and it was really awesome to see that. I think that's my favorite memory, is like seeing him flourish.
That's cool. I think my mine is gonna be echoed over there. Brian's is that I just appreciate. It's not really like a specific memory.
I'm not doing the moves.
But no. Just how much you have dove into and leaned into wrestling, because you know how much I care about it, and this is something that I need to do better, because you know I care about wrestling so much, and it's like all I ever think about and all I do. But you've decided that, okay, if my husband is so crazy about this, I've got to be crazy about this. So I'll get Instagram posts and Facebook messages from Mara, like informing me of wrestling news. Like, she not only has like decided I need to understand how to watch and understand a wrestling match and what's going on, but I'm going to learn the names. I'm going to understand the storylines. I'm going to understand, like, ooh, this is a controversial post by this person because of this, and this. Like, it's really super, super cool that, like, I can come home and it's not just like, oh, how was practice? Like, it was, did you hear about this? And we can actually have conversations about wrestling, even though you might not want to. Like, maybe you're just doing it strictly so that we can have something to talk about.
No.
But you know, I think that's just really cool.
I think last night was the first night that I hadn't seen him in 3 days, and he was talking about wrestling. I'm like, can we just not talk about wrestling? Can we just talk about something else? He's like, yeah, no, that's fine. But normally I'm always down to have a conversation, because I'm actually very invested in what's going on and what are the kids doing? What is this? But
I feel like we're all making these really good memories, like right now.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
They're playing out right now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Yeah. I don't know that, like, favorite wrestling memory. I think, I mean, this is gonna go back to like high school, where like all my fans in my family were like, you guys weren't dating in high school, which we weren't. But I just, like, I always remember you in high school, how you know, how much like energy you put into wrestling, and knowing that you were not like the other kids who had wrestled like their whole life, and you were still like up there, you know, competing and like putting it all on the line. Like, that's how I knew that you were like a passionate person, as like, you know, whatever that sounds, that like you just were all out there for wrestling. And I had not known what the sport was until I met you, and then I saw you play it out there, and then, you know, I got to see you compete, which I think when you see somebody compete, you see a lot about them. And so, like, I just remember you, like, wrestling, and then you would, like, run the sprints. Like, I have, like, vivid memories of you wrestling in high school. So, I like those memories.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
Aww.
But we were not dating. Anyways.
I remember, I liked watching Nelson compete. That was fun. But I think it was more fun. I liked watching him coach. No offense. I don't know. It's just, like, another level. Like, you were super into competing, don't get me wrong, but I just feel like, I don't know, I think you're a really good coach.
Thanks.
Yep.
Oh, that's so cute.
All right. Something wrestling related that surprised you about your wife.
I think I will not answer this question because I think I just answered it. So I'm surprised that you went so all in and learned everything about wrestling that there pretty much is to learn.
Yeah, that would be my answer too. So,
okay.
Yeah.
A little redundant.
Really surprised about that, though? I feel like.
I know.
Something we're surprised about?
Yeah. But I mean, I guess when I asked him to show me the move, he told the coaches, which I was like, why'd you tell them? Like, I think you told Noah, I know, somebody, I was like, now I feel embarrassed, but like, he was just really excited that I wanted to learn the moves. Like,
I love it.
He was like so excited, but I mean, never again, but you know, once in a while.
You ask me every now and then, like, what is this
I'll
move?
ask you, but like, not to like actively play it out in our basement. Like,
Please show me a lat drop.
But like yesterday I was running sprints with the kids because I was like, so he tells the kids at the end of practice, like, if you want to run sprints, and you know, only a few kids will run sprints. Mm-hmm. And my kids are running sprints, but they're like jogging, you know, because they don't know what a sprint is. And so everyone had left the wrestling room, and then I was like, Nehemiah, like, I'll sprint, and I'm slow. Like, I'm slow. I was like, if you can beat me, then like you are sprinting. If I beat you, then you need to be faster. And I beat him, and I beat Elias. I beat all of them. And I'm like, okay, I'm bigger than him, right? Bigger strides. But I was like, you need to be trying to beat me, like, every time. And I think they were surprised that I was running. Like, my legs hurt today, but they're like, but I'm like that type of person. Like, if I will do it, like, so that's why I wanted to learn the moves, because I want to know, like, what's going on. Yeah. So, yeah.
I think that's awesome.
Okay, best part of coaching. So think about it for a sec. You know, as a coach.
Yeah, so you can answer this question.
I'm just kidding.
You keep it simple, like just seeing a kid do what you taught him to do, you know? Just seeing him apply it in a match and then have success, you know, using a certain move or technique that you taught him. Seeing him have success with it and then come off the mat just smiling and he just locks eyes with you and you both know why. Yeah. You know, you both know why that worked. Like, that is the coolest thing, you know?
I would agree, and I think it can be applicable to all levels. It's just seeing athletes proud of themselves. I think that's so cool. It's not proud of anything else other than what they just achieved.
So awesome.
Yeah, okay, I think we have a few more questions.
Yeah.
So I'll just skip to what's your favorite wrestling move? I'll ask Nelson last.
Yeah.
Favorite wrestling move?
I like riding the legs on top, so that was kind of like my main thing in high school. Just leg riding.
Is that a move though, or is it like position?
It's really like the series, position, yeah.
So from there, what would be like your favorite?
Just like a leg ride to like a crossface or a Turk position, yeah, or a power half on one side, crossface on the other side.
I'm thinking of what those are.
I know, me too. I was like, crossface.
That's my favorite position. Favorite moves are from there.
Right.
I would say that mine is the worst kept secret of all time.
We know.
That is
Don't answer this.
The headlock.
Everyone knows.
You know, the headlock is a move that oftentimes is called a junk move. I learned really quickly in my wrestling career that the headlock is the easiest and quickest way to take someone from their feet directly to their back and to pin them. And everyone throughout my entire life told me that won't work next year. That won't work next year. That won't work next year. And I won 2 state championships and won at least 15 to 30 matches in college with a headlock. And I continually headlock every kid that I wrestle. And it's the easiest and most effective match-ending move that exists.
I like it.
So then were you like a fast pinner?
Yeah, I think when I finished high school, I was 8th all time in IHSA pin history. I don't think I'm on the record books anymore. I think I just got past last year because I checked. But I finished my high school career with 100 pins.
Oh, wow.
Oh, interesting.
Did you have like pins on your backpack?
When I was a kid.
Oh,
it was
so
on my hat. They were on my
Oh.
hat. We had stocking caps and put them on my hat. But
You had the little pins on your hat. Huh?
Yep.
Oh,
That's cute.
yeah.
to intimidate my opponents.
Oh.
Saw you guys around.
Okay. So this is more like a introspective, like long-term thing. So like, what do you guys hope, like, to see come from what Mara and I are doing on the podcast?
First of all, like, this podcast is awesome for the sport. Like, this is one of the coolest things I've seen in the sport. I mean, it's so unique and just a way for people that typically don't have like an avenue to relate with the sport on. Like, now they do, you know, specifically wrestling wives, wrestling moms, just wrestling women in general. Like, they have a platform now that they can just kind of relate to. So like, I want to see this thing grow. Like, it would be super cool to, for you guys to have like different guests from different places and just talk to them, get their perspective, and just kind of just make like a big community out of this whole thing, And you've got the merch, you've got the logos, you got the whole setup, the sign. Like, you guys are doing such a great job, And I just want to see it grow. It's good for the sport, just overall.
Yeah. I hope that everyone listening buys merch. Link in bio. I know. I hope that you guys can make billions of dollars and quit your jobs.
That'd be awesome.
No, but I really think too, like Brian said, I think first and foremost, it enables you guys to connect and spend more time outside of just like wrestling tournaments together, but also hopefully, reaches people that, want to know more about wrestling and want to relate more about wrestling, whether they're actually wrestling wives or just like Brian said, just women in wrestling. Or, I mean, I listen to it every week because I feel like I get an inside perspective as to what my wife is thinking, because I don't always get to see her during wrestling season. So
That's true.
I think that it has an awesome potential to just create a community and, make hopefully more women in wrestling like you guys, because if more women in wrestling become as involved and grow a love for the sport like you guys have, more people than in Brian and I's position are going to be able to make the most out of their coaching experience. Like, I oftentimes hear that like, oh, I'd love to do what you guys do, but man, there's no way my wife would let me do that. Like, we are so fortunate that our wives let us do that. You know what I mean? And understanding that you can let your husbands do that while also making awesome memories and connecting with other people and being part of a community. Like, I would love nothing less than to have, not only like the Rochelle people all sit together at a wrestling tournament, but like the wrestling wives have their own section at kids club tournaments. Like, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Have like meetups where like,
awesome.
There's, 15, 20 different families of people wearing wrestling wives stuff that connect and they can talk about their experiences and have more levels of support in their lives than just their husbands or children who are always wrestling anyway. I think that's, super cool. And obviously you hope that, you get to see your stuff elsewhere and you get to make cool connections. I know you guys have, guests lined up, and I think that's super cool. And I think there's a lot of exciting things to come of it. And, spoiler alert, I think you guys are going to get to go to some really cool places and, experience some things that you wouldn't normally have been able to experience without this podcast. But I don't even really know what that answer meant, but I just kept talking.
We appreciate it.
I think it's cool because, obviously, I think it's cool because we're doing it and I love it. But it also, as if we needed something else to do, but it also gives us something else to do.
Yes.
Like at a tournaments or at the duels. Like we're there to support you guys, right? We're there to support the wrestlers. We're there taking care of, I'm there taking care of my kids. We're there talking to like people that we know, but it's also like another level. So we, we have a few people that have been.
What are you doing?
I got another answer. Just hold on.
Like now we went, for example, I went to the Oregon tournament and I knew Abby was going to be there. So like Abby, like, we've said probably like 3 sentences to each other, but I know that you're there and I said hi to you. And then somebody else came up and talked to, me because you had just left. Yeah. And so it gives us something else to do where we can give back as well. Like you said, to build the community. It's something that I really like. And I wish that, you guys keep listening and that you guys feel welcomed into the community. So.
Yes.
Yeah, and everybody's wondering why I just pulled out my phone and took a picture. I think, and I might be making more work for whoever does the editing, but you guys have also gained skills. Yeah. Like I took a picture because you watching the podcast or listening to the podcast have no idea what setup is occurring in our living room.
Manager Brian.
Like, hopefully we can like post that picture like somewhere right here.
With the dog.
But we've got like giant lights and microphones and sound systems and other like you understood now how to record audio and sync audio and edit videos and make graphics. Like, regardless of where this podcast goes or doesn't go, those are things that you'll know how to do now for any instance that may come up in your lives. And I think that's super valuable in a world that is becoming more and more digital and more content based. Like, you understand how to make, create, put out, and market content.
Yeah. For sure. Do you want to talk about some upcoming topics?
Yeah. So first off, Merry Christmas, everyone.
It's coming up.
I think we'll have a episode release on Christmas week.
Yeah. When is Christmas? Monday? Tuesday?
Well, so we're not in the Christmas spirit this year, folks. I think it's on Monday, but that Tuesday we should have an episode releasing.
Yes.
And then if you guys probably saw our gift guide.
Yes.
That was brainstorming, but mostly done by Yesenia. So shout out to her. Please go follow those links.
Yes.
A lot of people have looked, so we're really excited about that. So we're happy that we're helping people.
Yes.
This time of year, because I still have not done Christmas shopping, so I'm gonna have to go to some of those links.
Yeah.
And then we have some guests lined up.
Yes, and I think we're still getting the scheduling down, but most likely after the new year.
Yep.
And then we are excited for that, to bring you perspective of other wrestling wives from other regions of the state and even other states and stuff like that.
And we might hit the road.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
In February, when we're down at state.
At
We might
state,
do a state podcast from the Airbnb, which would be kind of fun.
From Illinois.
Yeah. But
so those are upcoming things. So as always, subscribe. Subscribe on all the things. Like, even if you don't listen, I would just ask you guys.
Yeah, please do.
Subscribe on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. And then give thumbs up on YouTube. I think that is. So like all the stuff and comment, subscribe. I said that already. Visit our website. The gift guide is on there, and we might be adding some more stuff like that in the future. And then the merch. There's all types of merch on there. Still looking for a quarter zip.
Yeah.
And then anything that we talk about, or if you're looking to get any, like mics or gear or anything as well, we link all of that in our show notes. So also follow those there.
Yeah, and let us know if you like the husbands on.
Oh, yes.
Maybe they can come back again sometime.
My kids want to come on. I was like, in a few years, maybe.
But yeah, let us know what you guys thought of the episode. We'd love to hear your feedback.
Yeah.
Not only from the wives, but hopefully some of the husbands listen to this episode.
Yes.
Right? Yeah,
we could have husbands on too. Like,
we could.
Like, if it's like a husband and a wife, like, we could have them on as
totally.
well.
Yeah, see their dynamic.
Yeah.
But yeah, as always, leave us questions.
Yeah.
And we appreciate and love you guys.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. And we hope you enjoyed this episode. Bye.